As I conclude, can't even tell you my notes anymore. Tell you this last story and I'll be done. I love sports. This is what I do. And I was playing for the Washington Redskins, and I knew that they had drafted a younger kid to come in and to take my job. Okay? Work and worship. They had brought somebody else to come in and to take my job. And one thing that is very difficult as it pertains to worship is when you are overcome by fear. I was fearful because my job was tied to my identity. And my identity was tied to our resources. And our resources were tied to our family. I decided that it would be better for me to go back to Tucson and to finish summer school so that I could graduate. And my coach told me before I left, Darryl, if you choose to do this, this is going to be professional suicide for you. Basically, if you leave, you're going to get fired. I choose to go back, and then all of a sudden, the young kid that they drafted, his name happened to be Darryl too. His name was Darryl Pounds. I'm Darryl Morrison. We call him DP. DP calls me while I'm in Tucson, and he says, Darryl, I don't know the plays, and I know that you know the plays. Can you help me? Did you hear me? Did you just hear what I don't know the plays. I know you know the plays. Can you, and everybody know I'm coming here to take your job, to take food off of your table, and to stop you from working. Can you help me? And you know what I said, because I'm a godly man. No. No. Then I felt something in my heart that was beyond my lust for money. It was beyond my desire for fame. I heard God say, help him. Like, nah, I'm not helping him. Help him. Help him, Darryl. It's not bad enough. You know the West Coast and the East Coast, there's 3 hours time difference. So he would call me at 5:30 every morning to go over plays so that he could learn to take my job. So I have to wake up at 5:15 to get my mind right to help him. And I would. I woke up every morning. I pull out the tape. Okay, DP, you see this play right here? Here's what you did wrong. Here's what you need to make sure you understand. On this play, let's make sure you do this. Listen, man, I noticed this about you over here. Make sure that when you see this person go in motion, and everything inside of me. And my flesh didn't want to do it. But remember what I said about worship. When you worship him, it's about sacrifice. My flesh didn't want to do it. And I just believe I need to speak that to some people, because sometimes fear in the midst of work can cause you to not do what God called you to do. And sometimes when we worship God, it means that we must sacrifice what is best of us for the sake of someone else, because worship, as I said, changes lives. Worship, as I said, changes lives. Worshiping God at work is not so you can just get a promotion. Worshiping God at work is so that people can begin to experience and see God and Christ through us. So we go through the season, and by the grace of God, I cannot believe this. Darryl Pounds and Darryl Morrison were fighting for one position. They had hired another guy. He was the number one safety in the NFL. And believe it or not, what they did, and it's just crazy. And instead of them firing one of the Darryls, they fired the highest paid safety in the NFL. My coach looked at me and pulled me in the room, and he says, Darryl, I do not understand why I'm doing this, but this might be for me something that's going to get me fired. I am firing the number one safety in the NFL because I'm going to promote you to that position, and you and Darryl will be my starting safeties. See, worship, when you sacrifice, it gives God an opportunity to perform a miracle in your life. He'll perform things. He'll do things. He will do stuff that you cannot understand. He will put you in places that you don't understand. And that's beautiful that they fired him. But 5 years after I was done playing, I received a phone call out of all people, Darryl Pounds. And he called me and he said this, Darryl, can I ask you a question? Here's what he said. Why did you help me? Why did you help me? I knew we were fighting for the same job, and this has just confounded my mind. I don't understand this. I couldn't have done it myself. Why did you help me when you knew they were trying to fire you and you knew that they wanted me to have your position? Why did you fire me? And all I could tell him is, DP, God told me to. God told me to. 2 years later, I received a phone call from the same young man, tears coming down his eyes, fearful. He had gone through a very traumatic situation in his life. He didn't know much about God, but he remembered the person who was willing to sacrifice for him in the moment in which he needed what he thought was most. He remembered the person who was willing to be faithful to God, even if it meant his own futility in his career. He remembered the person who chose to do what God told him to do, even if it meant that he wouldn't get what he wanted. And he said, I knew of nobody else to call but you. But you. I couldn't think of anybody else in the toughest of moments in my life. I could think of no one else to speak to but you. And I said, why, DP? He said, because I remember what you did for me at work. I remember.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube video today. We appreciate you taking the time to tune in with us. Before you take off, please hit the like button. And if you want more of this content and you want to be notified when we put out new videos, hit the subscribe button and the little bell for notifications right next to it. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.